All right, YouTube, we're back. This is Dominick Izzo out here at the Izzo Warrior Academy in Chicago. Today we're going to be taking a field trip out to Lenny Sly's Combative Concepts School out in Chicago. We're going to be looking at what happens from a civilian mindset to where you can use that force necessary to defend your life. All right, as always, like, subscribe, use your comments in the bottom section to tell us what you want to see. But this episode is going to be a little bit different, and I hope you enjoy. All right, YouTube, we are on a Combative Concepts out here in Chicago with Lenny Sly. And if you like what you just saw like I did, I'm going to go over what we did. We were talking about weapons disarming in this video versus the weapons retention in the last video. Lenny, thanks for having us to your school.
Thanks for coming.
I've known Lenny for years. Lenny's a traditional martial artist who is a lot like me, to where we both have the same mindset for combat. I like his shit. Love it. It's raw, it's combative, it's aggressive. Lenny, one of the first things I wanted to ask you is, you come from a traditional background.
Correct.
And you didn't branch off into MMA and whatnot. What did you do to make, like, I went Wing Chun, but I made my Wing Chun pure aggression, pure fighting, pure combat. You have the same mindset, it looks like, with Aikido. Talk a little bit about that, how you made that, and how you developed that, how you spun off from that.
Well, basically, I mean, like what you're saying, I come from a traditional background, 3/4 of it's traditional background. Then I moved into more practical application of Aikido the last 7 years, and I was directly linked to Aikido in general. About 8 years ago, this upcoming September, I decided to just call it a day. I got tired of answering to people that, I respected them, but I just got tired of answering to them and doing it their way. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's, being a bouncer for 23 years, I know what's going to work on the street and what's not going to work on the street. And I can tell you right now, traditional Aikido is not going to work on the street. There's no way that's ever going to happen. So the last 7 years, I was involved with the more practical application of Aikido technique. And once I decided to jump off the bandwagon of that, I created my own system, Combative Concepts, and it's based on real-world self-defense and what happens on the street, what really happens on the street, and how these techniques can actually be applied on the street. Even though I already knew how to apply them, I just took it to a much deeper and different level, so to speak. When you apply technique in my school to people, when you get taught that and you learn how to do this, we don't go through baby steps when we start teaching, like beginners, for instance. We don't sit there and like, okay, this is how you apply this. We get right to the stake. We sidestep everything else.
Your stuff is very aggressive, and what it looks like to me is you're not running a school. You are teaching combatives. And we're not, both of us have different professions, and we teach out of the passion of what we do. Our job is to really develop a fighter, develop somebody who can actually protect themselves. That's the one thing I like about your skill set, is that you're not going through tradition, but you're keeping a traditional route and making it apply. You evolved your stuff. And I want to know have you been able to maintain the integrity of the base of what you did, or did you just leave it all behind?
I maintain the integrity of it because there are stepping stones, obviously, and there's steps up the ladder that you have to take as a beginner to learn this. So, it's not that I fall back to traditional roots when I teach new students or teach people that want to learn how to do this, but I still use those methods that I learned when I was a student. I'm still a student. Mm-hmm. I'm constantly progressing. Okay, I am that student to the last day of my life. I'll always be that guy that is seeking out a faster, more powerful, more effective technique or application of technique that I already teach. We teach things that are effective immediately. The minute I put my hands on you, the minute that I apply technique, it works, plain and simple. From the beginner standpoint, I still use some of those methods that I learned 20 years ago when I first got involved in traditional Aikido, because those were stepping stones, those were building blocks for me. So I still take that and I still pass that knowledge on to my students, but for a very limited time. Once you get that foundation, you'll remember those days, but then it's on to the more.
It looks like your guys evolved too as well. Talking about your guys and whatnot, hey Frank, can we borrow you for a second? Sure. What I want you to explain to the viewers is with Wing Chun, what we do is we attack the limbs to get to the core. What I loved about what you were doing in your weapons disarming is you use those limbs as part of the kinetic chain to destroy the core. Can you run through what your points of attack are? Meaning in Wing Chun, I just want this. I want his center. We disregard this, but you're using all that stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about what can be destroyed on him when you're putting your hands on him.
Well, that's a really, that's a great question, how you're describing your system versus mine. What we do is we take away the weapons from people. Okay, their weapons are their hands, their elbows, their knees, their feet. Some people like to strike with their head, that type of thing. We can sit here all day long and put our hands up and do MMA style boxing and, oh, I'm gonna punch you, you're gonna punch me, I'm gonna kick you, you're gonna kick me. Who hits the hardest, who hits the fastest, who gets that lucky shot in, whose timing's on, whose balance is there, the whole 9 yards, okay? We avoid that, because if I could take away, like if he goes to shove, for instance, and I take away his fingers, okay? From this point, I apply this finger lock. He tries to punch me at this point, I can apply this. I'm taking away this as a weapon, and I'm taking away his striking hand. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm actually accomplishing, is by applying this technique, I can move into a wrist lock by turning to dissipate force. Okay, and the way how this works really well is if he pulls back and resists, because we incorporate a lot of retraction in our training. Okay, the law of retraction. Somebody throws a punch, somebody tries to shove you, and you go to grab, do a technique, apply technique. His natural reaction is to pull back, especially if he's unsuccessful. So if he pulls back on this, he actually applies it himself.
He does the work for you.
Exactly. If he starts to push in because he wants to get aggressive, stand back up. He starts to push in.
He's doing the work.
He's applying it. And so let's just say, for example, he goes to push in. I turn, then I can use this against him and apply the technique.
So whereas we are getting the limbs out of the way to get the core, you're using that to destroy the whole core.
And to destroy his weapons, for instance. Other technique that we would have from this point is like a hand deflection. Most people do blocking. I think I might have discussed this when we were at your school earlier in the week. Instead of blocking the technique, okay, like I talked about, action is faster than reaction. Okay, that punch comes off, boom. Most people are gonna sit there and bring their hands off.
Right.
We move into the attack. So when he throws that punch, we move in.
That relates to us as well too.
And that strike can happen. This is more like that arm, like smashing with the forearm type of idea, where you can actually strike this open hand strike to the back of his head, possibly knock him out to the temple. You grab the ear at that point. Now from here, now we take out his knee, so now he can't stand. And once he drops, I can stomp out his knee, stomp out his ankle. If he can't stand, he can't fight. He can't attack. And a lot of people miss that, because they're all too busy doing this, this shit, which is great.
Right.
This is great. I'm all, sport fighting and stuff, that's great. I'll watch it all day long. I'll never participate in it because I'm looking at real world.
Right.
Somebody attacks me on the street, I'm gonna destroy him systematically, depending on how the attack is. I'm not gonna waste time trying to outbox him to see if I can get that lucky punch in. I might start off with a first strike option, if I knew that I'm gonna get put in a situation where, I better strike first before he strikes me, because a lot of people like to do the ambush thing.
Right.
Hey, you got a problem, blah, 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 wham, next thing you know, they throw this punch. So if I start feeling this, because I can tell by people's demeanor, because of my past experiences with other employment, being a bouncer,
right,
I can see this. So if I think that's gonna happen, I might come in with a kick and a punch right away, just to get him back, so I can get distance. A lot of people tend to back off, and it looks like you're retreating. We don't retreat. What we're doing is we're creating space.
You're setting yourself up.
We're creating space. And we also usually have our hands up a lot to where this looks very defensive. We want this, okay? This looks defensive. We don't want any trouble. Hey man, I'm not looking for trouble. Usually that might set the person, oh, this guy's a pussy, he doesn't want to fight me, blah, blah. No, I'm actually putting myself in a position where if you do decide to take an act of furtherance and think that I'm backing down, get ready for your nightmare, because it's about to happen.
It's gonna be a bad fucking day for them.
It's gonna be a bad fucking day.
My other question too, and this is the one thing that I love, is that you got a skilled student, a trained student, who understands what his body has to do in order to practice your tactics and techniques. What happens to the human body when all these gorgeous things that you do, you get somebody who resists. You get somebody who doesn't know how to fall properly. It's street applicable. Joe Shit, the rag man, comes up, decides to put their hands on you, and they don't go with you. What happens to them?
Well, first off, I hope you're signed up with Obamacare. Okay, plain and simple, because you're taking an ambulance ride to the hospital. Real simple. First off, if I get a hold of both of your hands, you better have a handicap accessible vehicle that drives on its own with your feet. Because the minute that happens, I break this wrist at this point, okay? you're not gonna be able to grab anything. This transitions into that finger lock, into another wrist lock, as I was showing you before. If you got into, say, a type of grab, I strike, I come in here, okay? The Aikido technique for this is called Shihonage, okay? This type of arm lock, in another form of Japanese arts, it's called Onikudaki. This completely will dislocate your shoulder, and that's being nice.
Let's look at your
I can sit there and keep
right off.
cranking, get a look at his face. You can tell that this is, you can tell this works. I'm barely applying this. If I start to move, and I start turning Frank into this, you can throw at that point.
If he didn't go with that, that's just gonna rip his arm right out of his socket, isn't it?
Well, unfortunately, you almost don't have a choice with that technique because the way I'll leverage your body, once it gets to that point of here, remember, you gotta worry about, he has a second weapon at that point.
Right.
Right? So as you're applying, he's not gonna hit you. You have all other types of stuff here. You can leg sweep, okay? You can smash the Achilles tendon, okay? To get him to go. This is the devastating point of this. If I get him to turn at this point, where I get him, because I'm correct, the way how I start positioning the arm, anatomically, how I move the arm. If I just want to cause severe bodily harm,
Right.
I'm not going to circle his arm, okay? I'm not going to do this for real because this is extremely dangerous. I'm going to drop down to one knee and I'm going to smash his head right into the ground, okay? And that's being nice. If I drop down with the other knee, the technique's going to be even more devastating. Now remember, we're right now, we in our dojo, because there's a lot of throws and applications that incorporate throws. We have 2-inch thick mats.
You're in a controlled environment.
You do that out on asphalt, that type of throw to somebody. Sorry, YouTube. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much experience you have. You get thrown like that on asphalt, and it's thrown by somebody who knows how to apply the technique for real. Okay? Not some McDojo that's going to just show you a technique. That actually shows you how to apply the technique for real. That person is not going to get up. Plain and simple.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think you guys only know that I only get together with people who take their skill and make it for real world. And in my personal opinion, I think that the traditional martial arts, MMA has made a great impact on fitness. It's made a great impact on, I wouldn't want to fight one of the MMA guys for their endurance level alone. They're just great. But I think traditional martial arts have evolved with certain people, and you got to do the research of the people out there who know how to translate them into combative, ruthless tactics. That said, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Sly's Combatives on YouTube.
We'll have that link at the bottom of the video here.
You can look me up on Facebook at Combative Concepts as well. To be honest with you, I don't really believe in websites. I had a website once before, and it's just, if you're interested in training with me, just get a hold of me through Facebook. Message me. My phone number's on there as well. You can contact me that way. Feel free to make comments on the video, so on and so forth. I do respond. I'm not one of those people that, whether they're negative or positive, it's,
We're experiencing that over at the Izzo Warrior Academy channel on that one too. Get a hold of Lenny, subscribe to his channel. You're going to be seeing a lot more of him on our channel too. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for coming
Frank,
out, man.
Thanks for doing it. All right, we hope you enjoyed that one. Now you can see the difference between a Wing Chun mindset. We're striking. We're trying to take the core of our threats, balance through strikes. We get in there, we manipulate, and you see how the kinetic chain from an Aikido combative's point of view is to use the disrupt from the point of contact down to that core, whereas we bypass this and go right in. All right, as always, like I say, you gotta train your martial art, you gotta adapt it, and you gotta evolve it to make it for you. All right, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, write your comments in the bottom about what you wanna see. Go to our Facebook Izzo Warrior Academy page, and as always, guys, we'll see you in the next video.